The words hung in the air like poison gas, slowly filling every corner of our living room. I'm going out with Derek on Friday, and I don't care what you think about it. I looked up from my laptop, certain I'd misheard. My wife Rebecca stood in the doorway, arms crossed, chin raised in that defiant posture I'd seen more frequently over the past few months. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, accentuating the hard set of her jaw. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked, keeping my voice level despite the sudden acceleration of my heartbeat. "You heard me, Nathan. Derek's in town for the weekend, and we're going to that new club downtown. The one that just opened on 5th Street. She walked to the kitchen, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor with mechanical precision. "We used to go clubbing all the time before you and I got together. I miss it." I closed my laptop slowly, my mind racing through the implications. Derek wasn't just any ex-boyfriend. He was the ex-boyfriend, the one she'd dated for 3 years before we met, the one whose photos she'd taken months to remove from her social media, the one whose name still occasionally slipped into conversations at the most unexpected moments. "Rebecca, we've talked about this. About boundaries. About what's appropriate in a marriage." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Boundaries? Is that what you call controlling behavior now? I'm a grown woman, Nathan. I don't need your permission to see my friends." "Friends?" I stood up, struggling to maintain my composure. "Derek isn't your friend. He's your ex-boyfriend who, according to you, still texts you regularly despite knowing you're married." "Oh my God, here we go again." She yanked open the refrigerator, grabbing a bottle of wine. "You're so insecure. Derek and I are ancient history. We're just friends now. Platonic. Why can't you understand that?" I watched her pour herself a generous glass, noting how her hands trembled slightly. "Because platonic friends don't text at midnight. Platonic friends don't send messages that you feel the need to delete. Platonic friends don't suggest clubbing alone together while your husband stays home." Her eyes flashed. "Maybe if you weren't so boring, I'd want to go clubbing with you. When's the last time we did anything exciting, Nathan? When's the last time we stayed out past 10 o'clock? You're 34, not 70. The accusation stung because it held a grain of truth. I had been working long hours at the architectural firm, trying to make partner. Our social life had become virtually non-existent. But this wasn't about our social calendar. This was about respect, about boundaries, about the foundation of our marriage. "So your solution is to go dancing with your ex-boyfriend? That's how you want to address our problems?" She took a long sip of wine, her eyes never leaving mine. "I'm not asking for your blessing, Nathan. I'm informing you of my plans. I'm going Friday night, and that's final. And if I tell you that this crosses a line, that if you go, there will be consequences." Her laugh was sharp, cutting. "Consequences? What are you going to do, divorce me because I went dancing?" She set down her glass with enough force to make the wine slosh. "Go ahead. File the papers. I'm tired of being treated like a prisoner in my own life." The challenge hung between us like a gauntlet thrown down. In her eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before, a complete willingness to destroy everything we'd built together for one night of reclaimed freedom. Or perhaps it was something more. Perhaps Derek had been more present in our marriage than I'd realized. I felt something shift inside me then, something fundamental. The desperate need to convince her, to argue, to plead, it simply evaporated. In its place came a cold, crystalline clarity. "Okay," I said quietly. She blinked, clearly expecting more fight. "Okay what?" "Okay, go. Do whatever you want." I picked up my laptop and headed toward the stairs. "I'll see you when you get back." That's it. She followed me to the base of the staircase, confusion replacing her defiance. "You're not going to try to stop me?" I paused, looking back at her. "Rebecca, I've realized something. You're right. You're a grown woman. You get to make your own choices. And so do I." I climbed the stairs, leaving her standing alone with her wine and her victory, completely unaware that she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life.
All right, let's pause the story for a second. Because this is where things really start to change. While she was out providing for freedom, I was protecting mine. I stopped chasing explanations and started accepting reality. When she came back expecting a fight, she found silence. And that silence ended the marriage faster than any argument ever could. Let's move to the story.
Friday morning arrived with unseasonable cold, frost coating the windows of our bedroom like crystallized regret. I'd slept in the guest room for the past 3 nights, not out of anger, but out of necessity. I needed clarity, space to think, room to plan. Rebecca had been visibly unsettled by my calm acceptance of her clubbing plans. She'd tried to start arguments twice, probing for the reaction she'd expected. When I remained neutral, almost pleasant, her confusion had morphed into irritation. This morning, she'd left for work without saying goodbye. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and my laptop, reviewing the document I'd drafted. 5 years as an architect had taught me the importance of solid foundations and careful planning. If a structure was going to collapse, you wanted to control how and when it fell. My phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer, David Brennan, confirming our 2 p.m. appointment. The hardest call had been the first one, 3 days ago, just hours after Rebecca's ultimatum. David and I had gone to college together, though we'd drifted apart after graduation. He specialized in family law now, with a reputation for being thorough and discreet. "Nathan, this is unexpected," he'd said when he answered. "How long has it been?" 3 years. 4. Listen, David, I need legal advice. Hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to protect their assets in anticipation of a divorce, what would be the first steps? The pause had been heavy with understanding. How soon are we talking? Soon. Now, finishing my coffee, I reviewed my checklist. Our bank accounts were joint. I couldn't move money without raising alarms. But I could document everything. I'd spent the past 3 evenings photographing financial statements, property deeds, investment portfolios. Our house was jointly owned, purchased 2 years ago. My inheritance from my grandfather, safely in a separate account, was protected by our prenup. Thank God my grandmother had insisted on that. The prenup. I pulled it up on my screen, reading through the clauses I'd barely glanced at 6 years ago when love made legal protections seem cynical. But my grandmother had been adamant, and Rebecca had signed without complaint, perhaps never imagining we'd need it. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Mr. Holland? This is Detective Patricia Walsh, Riverside Police Department. I'm calling regarding the report you filed online Wednesday evening." My heart rate picked up slightly. "Yes, Detective. Thank you for calling back. I've reviewed your statement about suspected infidelity and your concerns about your safety during what you've described as increasingly volatile domestic situations. I want you to know we take these matters seriously. Can you come to the station today? I have a 2 o'clock appointment, but I could be there by 4. That works. Bring any documentation you have, texts, emails, anything that demonstrates the pattern of behavior you've described." After she hung up, I sat back, staring at the ceiling. Was I overreacting? Was this too much? Then I remembered Rebecca's face when she delivered her ultimatum, the cold certainty, the willingness to burn our marriage for a night out with Derek. This wasn't about one night. This was about what that night represented, a fundamental disrespect for our vows, for me, for everything we'd supposedly built together. My phone buzzed again. A text from Rebecca, working late. Won't be home until 6. Need to get ready for tonight. Perfect. I had time. I drove to our bank first, meeting with Miranda Torres, the branch manager who'd handled our accounts since we'd moved to Riverside. "Mr. Holland, what can I do for you today?" she asked, gesturing to a chair in her office. "I need detailed statements for all our joint accounts for the past 2 years. Also, I want to understand what happens to these accounts if my wife and I separate." Her professional smile faltered slightly. "I see. Well, in cases of marital separation, we typically recommend that both parties agree to freeze joint accounts to prevent unilateral withdrawals. Can that be done with only one party requesting it?" In cases where there's concern about financial abuse or if divorce proceedings have been initiated, yes. We'd need documentation. I nodded. I'll keep that in mind. For now, just the statements, please. At David's office, I spread everything across his conference table. Bank statements, credit card bills, photographs of text message exchanges between Rebecca and Derek that I'd captured when she'd left her phone unattended, documentation of her increasingly late nights at work, receipts from restaurants and hotels I'd never been to. David whistled low. Nathan, this is comprehensive. I'm an architect. I believe in thorough documentation. He picked up a printout of Rebecca's credit card statement, highlighting several charges. Madison Hotel, 3 different occasions in the past 2 months. That's not cheap. No, it's not. And you never confronted her about these. I did, initially. She said they were work events, client dinners that ran late. It was easier to get a room than drive home tipsy. I laughed bitterly. I actually believed her the first time. David leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. Here's what I'm seeing. You have a prenup that protects your inherited assets. The house is joint property, but you put down 70% of the down payment. We can argue for a larger share. Your income is significantly higher than hers. If this goes to divorce, you're in a relatively strong position. What about fault? Riverside is a no-fault divorce state, but evidence of infidelity can impact things like alimony and property division. This documentation helps. He paused. Nathan, are you certain about this path? Marriage counseling. She's going clubbing with her ex-boyfriend tonight, David. She gave me an ultimatum and essentially dared me to divorce her. I'm just taking her up on the offer. He nodded slowly. Then let's make sure you're protected. I'll start drafting the papers. Don't file until I give you the word, but we'll be ready. At the police station, Detective Walsh was in her 40s, with kind eyes that had seen too much to be shocked by domestic dysfunction. Mr. Holland, walk me through your concerns. I laid it out clinically, without emotion. The increasing volatility, the ultimatum, the pattern of behavior that suggested something more than just a friendship with her ex. Have there been physical altercations? She asked. She threw a glass at the wall during our argument. It shattered near where I was standing. Injuries. Minor cut from a shard. I have photos. She made notes. I'm going to file this report. I can't do much with what you've given me. This doesn't rise to the level of criminal behavior. But it creates a record. If things escalate, this documentation could be important. Driving home, I felt the weight of what I'd set in motion. There was still time to stop this, to try counseling, to fight for our marriage. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, leaving now. Don't wait up. Might crash at Jessica's if it's too late. Jessica. Her friend who lived alone in a studio apartment barely large enough for one person, let alone overnight guests. Just another lie in an increasingly elaborate web. No. There was no going back. I was ready for whatever tonight would bring. The house felt different in the silence. I sat in my home office, the one I'd built myself in what was supposed to be our future nursery, and waited. The clock on the wall ticked past 8, then 9, then 10. Rebecca had left at 7, emerging from our bedroom in a dress I'd never seen before, black, tight, ending well above her knees. Her makeup was dramatic, her perfume overwhelming. She'd avoided my eyes as she'd grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Have fun, I'd said from the couch, not looking up from my book. She'd paused, hand on the doorknob. Nathan, Rebecca, you made your choice. I'm respecting it. That's what you wanted, right? Freedom. She'd left without another word, and I'd listened to her car pull out of the driveway with something approaching relief. The waiting was over. Now came the next phase. I pulled up the app on my phone, Find My Device, the one we'd both installed years ago for safety, to locate each other in emergencies. Rebecca had never thought to turn off location sharing. The blue dot that represented my wife was currently stationary at Club Vertex on 5th Street. My phone rang. David. Papers are ready, he said without preamble. I can have them filed first thing Monday morning. You're sure about this? I watched the blue dot on my screen. I'm sure. Once we file, it becomes real, Nathan. There's no taking it back quietly. I know. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and began typing. An email to our shared friends, drafted but not yet sent, explaining in calm, measured terms that Rebecca and I were separating. I detailed the reasons without dramatics, the growing distance, the disrespect of boundaries, the ultimatum about tonight. I copied the email to a draft message to my parents, to her parents, to my siblings. Not sent. Not yet. But ready. At 11:30, the blue dot started moving. My pulse quickened. She was leaving the club, but not heading home. The dot tracked north, toward the waterfront district, toward the Madison Hotel. I screenshot the movement, time-stamped and dated. At midnight, the dot stopped moving. Madison Hotel, 5th floor based on the GPS precision. I sat back in my chair, feeling nothing and everything simultaneously. This was it. The confirmation I'd needed and dreaded. She wasn't at Jessica's non-existent guest room. She was at a hotel with Derek. I could have driven there. I could have confronted them. That's what the old Nathan would have done, the one who still believed in fighting for a marriage with someone who'd stopped fighting for it months ago. Instead, I opened a new document and began writing. Not in anger, but in cold clarity. Rebecca, by the time you read this, you'll have returned home from your night out with Derek. You'll probably expect an argument, maybe tears, perhaps even violence. You won't get any of those things from me. What you will get is honesty. I know you're at the Madison Hotel right now. Room 512, based on GPS coordinates. I know this isn't the first time. I know about the other nights, the other lies, the slow erosion of our marriage that you've been engineering while I work to build our future. You gave me an ultimatum, and I accepted it. You told me to divorce you if I didn't like your choices. So I will. By Monday, divorce papers will be filed. Our joint accounts will be frozen. Your access to our shared credit cards will be suspended. I'm not doing this out of revenge. I'm doing this because you've made it clear that our marriage means less to you than a night of reclaimed freedom with someone who belongs to your past. You wanted freedom. You'll have it. Just not on my dime and not in my house. I'll be staying at a hotel this weekend. Take what you need from the house, but take only what's yours. I have a complete inventory and photographs of everything in this house. If you remove anything that belongs to me or that we purchase together, it will be noted and used in the divorce proceedings. I loved you, Rebecca. I still do, in a way. But love isn't enough when respect is gone. You don't respect me, our marriage, or the life we built. You made that abundantly clear. I hope Derek is worth it. I saved the document, printed it, and placed it in an envelope on the kitchen counter. Packed a bag with enough clothes for a week. Called the Riverside Inn and booked a room. Before I left, I walked through our house one final time, photographing each room, each piece of furniture, each wedding photo still hanging on the walls. Documentation. Evidence. Protection. At 1 a.m., I loaded my suitcase into my car and drove away from the home I'd envisioned raising children in, growing old in, building a lifetime of memories in. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, staying at Jessica's. See you tomorrow. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. At the hotel, I lay in an unfamiliar bed, staring at an unfamiliar ceiling, and felt the first crack in my carefully maintained composure. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a profound sense of loss for something that had died so slowly I hadn't noticed until the corpse was cold. My phone buzzed again at 2 a.m. Another text from Rebecca. You awake? Can we talk tomorrow? And again at 2:30, Nathan, I know you're upset. We'll work through this. At 3 a.m, why aren't you responding? At 3:45, fine. Be childish. I'll see you in the morning. I turned off my phone and closed my eyes. Let her think I was being childish. Let her think this was a tantrum that would blow over. She'd find out the truth soon enough. Tomorrow, When she came home expecting to manipulate her way back into my good graces, she'd find only silence and consequences. Tomorrow, Rebecca would learn that some ultimatums don't go the way you expect. Saturday morning broke grey and cold, matching my mood as I sat in the hotel room nursing bad coffee and reviewing my notes. My phone, turned back on at 7 a.m., immediately erupted with notifications. 15 texts from Rebecca, escalating from casual to concerned to angry to panicked. Where are you? Your car is gone. Nathan, this isn't funny. Did you seriously leave because I went out? You're being ridiculous. Call me now. I'm getting worried. Please just tell me you're okay. Fine. I'm going to my sister's. We'll talk when you've calmed down. The last text had come through at 10 a.m. It was now 11:30. I texted back a single line, I'm fine. I'm at a hotel. I'll be back at the house at 3 p.m. We need to talk. Her response was immediate, thank God. I've been so worried. Yes, we need to talk. I'll be there. David called at noon. I've got a process server standing by. Are you absolutely certain? Once she's served, there's no walking this back quietly. I thought about the blue dot at the Madison Hotel. About the lies stacked on lies. About the contempt in her voice when she dared me to divorce her. I'm certain. But wait until I give you the signal. I want to see her face first. Nathan, be careful. Don't say or do anything that could be used against you later. I'll be fine. I just need to know if she's going to own what she did or continue lying. I arrived at our house at 2:45. Rebecca's car was already in the driveway, and I could see her silhouette pacing behind the living room curtains. She must have been watching for me, because the front door opened before I reached it. Nathan, where have you been? I've been so, she stopped, taking in my cold expression, the overnight bag in my hand. What's going on? I walked past her into the house. We should sit down. You're scaring me. But she followed me to the living room, perching on the edge of the couch. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, her hair pulled back, makeup free. She looked young and vulnerable and everything she'd been when I fell in love with her. I sat in the armchair across from her, maintaining distance. How was your night? I asked conversationally. She blinked. It was fine. We went dancing, had some drinks. It was nice to let loose, you know? And then I went to Jessica's, like I said. We stayed up talking for a while. The lie came smooth as silk, practiced. Nathan, I know you're upset, but you have to understand. What room were you in? What? At the Madison Hotel. What room number? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshot of her location. Room 512. You arrived at 11:47 p.m. Your location didn't move again until 8:23 this morning. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing. You tracked me. You spied on me. The app we both have installed for safety. You never turned off location sharing, Rebecca. I didn't spy. I just paid attention. This is exactly what I'm talking about. She stood, anger replacing shock. This controlling behavior. You can't stand that I have a life outside of you. Stop. My voice was quiet but hard. Just stop. No more lies. I'm not. Derek was there. You spent the night with him at the Madison Hotel. The same hotel you've been to at least 3 other times in the past 2 months, according to your credit card statements. The same Derek who's been texting you at all hours. The same ex-boyfriend you claimed was just a friend. Tears started streaming down her face. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. We just talked. That's all. The club was loud, so we went somewhere quiet to catch up. We got separate rooms. Nathan. I swear to God, we got separate rooms. I pulled up another screenshot. Your credit card shows one charge from the Madison Hotel last night. Room 512. One room, Rebecca. Not two. He paid for his room. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to destroy what we have? I stood, walking to the window, looking out at the street where we used to walk together on Sunday mornings. I'm not destroying anything. You already did that when you chose him over us. I didn't choose him. I went dancing. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. I turned back to face her. If nothing happened, why lie about where you stayed? Why not just tell me you were at the hotel? Because you would have reacted exactly like this. You would have assumed the worst. So you lied to protect me from my own assumptions? That's what you're going with. She wiped her eyes, mascara-free tears running clear. Nathan, please. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have gone. I shouldn't have lied. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through this. Do you love him? The question hung between us. She looked away. Rebecca, do you love him? I don't know. It's complicated. We have history, and seeing him again, it brought back feelings I thought I'd buried, but that doesn't mean. Get out. What? Get out of my house. Pack what you need for now. You can come back for the rest later with supervision. Nathan, please, you're not thinking clearly. We can. I gave you a chance to be honest. Just now. You could have admitted what happened, shown some remorse, taken actual responsibility. Instead, you lied again. And again. And even when I showed you proof, you continued lying. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Derek's. Your sister's. A hotel. Anywhere but here. She crumbled onto the couch, sobbing. Please don't do this. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. I pulled the envelope from my jacket pocket and placed it on the coffee table. Read that when you've calmed down. It explains everything. What is it? Your freedom. Exactly what you asked for. I walked to the stairs. I'm going to take a shower. When I come back down, I want you gone. If you're not, I'll call the police and have you removed. You wouldn't. I paused on the first step. Try me. In the shower, I let the hot water wash over me, finally allowing myself to feel the full weight of what was happening. 15 minutes later, dressed in clean clothes, I came back downstairs. Rebecca was gone. Her car was gone. The envelope was open on the coffee table, my letter beside it. She'd left her wedding ring on top of the letter. I picked it up, this symbol of promises broken, and placed it in my pocket. Then I pulled out my phone and texted David, "Serve the papers." His response was immediate, "Sending the process server now. She'll be served by Monday morning." I walked through the house, noting what Rebecca had taken, some clothes from the bedroom, her laptop, toiletries. She'd been careful not to take anything that could be contested. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Derek. We need to talk. Rebecca is devastated. You're making a huge mistake." I blocked the number without responding. Another text, from Rebecca's sister Claire. "What did you do to my sister? She's at my place crying her eyes out. You're supposed to be her husband." I replied, "Ask her why she spent last night at a hotel with her ex-boyfriend. Ask her why she lied about it. Ask her why she gave me an ultimatum to accept her behavior or divorce her. I chose divorce. She can cry at your place as long as she needs to." The weekend stretched ahead, long and empty. But I wasn't empty. I was preparing for the next phase. Monday would bring the papers. Then would come the real test, how Rebecca would handle the reality of consequences she'd never actually believed would come. Monday morning arrived with the crisp efficiency of inevitability. I was in my office at the architecture firm when David texted, "Papers served at 9:47 a.m. Confirmed receipt." I set down my coffee, waiting. It took 11 minutes. My phone exploded with calls from Rebecca. I let them all go to voicemail. Then came the texts. How could you do this? We can still fix this. I'm willing to go to counseling. Nathan, please, I made a mistake, but this is insane. You're throwing away 6 years over any night. Derek meant nothing. I'll do anything to save our marriage. I responded with a single text. All communication needs to go through my attorney, David Brennan. His number is on the divorce papers. Then I blocked her number. The next call came from her mother, Patricia. I answered this one. Nathan, what is going on? Rebecca is hysterical. She says you filed for divorce over a simple misunderstanding. Patricia, I appreciate that Rebecca is your daughter, and you want to support her. But this wasn't a misunderstanding. She spent the night with her ex-boyfriend at a hotel after giving me an ultimatum to accept it or divorce her. I chose divorce. I'm sorry this is painful, but my decision is final. You're being cruel. Marriages have rough patches. You work through them. She can work through her rough patch with Derek. I'm done. I hung up. My boss, Leonard Wright, called me into his office that afternoon. Nathan, is everything okay? Patricia called me. She's on the hospital board, and she seemed quite upset. The hospital board. Of course. Rebecca's mother wielded her social connections like weapons. Everything's fine, Leonard. Personal matters that won't affect my work. He studied me carefully. The Riverside Cultural Center project. We're presenting to the board next week. Patricia will be there. I understand. If you need me to step back from that presentation, I will. No. I just wanted to make sure you're prepared for potential awkwardness. I'll be professional. I always am. That evening, I received an email from Derek. Subject line, man to man. Nathan, I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. But you need to understand that what happened between Rebecca and me wasn't planned. We've been talking for a few months, just as friends, catching up. When I came to town, it seemed natural to meet up. Things got emotional, and yes, we crossed a line. But it was one night of confusion, not a grand affair. Rebecca loves you. She's made mistakes, but she's willing to do whatever it takes to save your marriage. You're throwing away something real over one moment of weakness. I'm backing off. I won't contact her again. Just give her a chance to make this right. The ball is in your court. Don't let your pride destroy something worth saving. I read it twice, then replied. Derek, I appreciate the email, but you fundamentally misunderstood the situation. This isn't about pride or one night. This is about a pattern of disrespect, about lies stacked on lies, about a woman who gave me an ultimatum and then was shocked when I took her up on it. You say you've been talking for a few months and that meeting up seemed natural. Do you understand what you just admitted? That this has been ongoing. That she's been emotionally involved with you while married to me. That I'm the last to know about a relationship that's been developing behind my back. You're not backing off because you respect my marriage. You're backing off because the fantasy crashed into reality. Rebecca isn't the carefree woman from your past. She's a married woman who betrayed her husband. That's who you were with Friday night. I'm not throwing anything away. Rebecca did that. I'm just refusing to pick up the pieces of something she broke deliberately. The ball was never in my court, Derek. It left the court the moment she chose to go out with you against my explicit concerns. Now we're playing a different game entirely. Stay away from my wife. Ex-wife, soon enough. I hit send and blocked his email address too. Wednesday brought a call from David. Nathan, Rebecca's retained a lawyer. Beverly Kane. She's good. Aggressive. They're claiming the marriage is salvageable and that you're being hasty. What does that mean for the case? It means they're going to fight this. Beverly's going to try to drag this out, push for reconciliation counseling, anything to delay the inevitable. She knows about the prenup, so she's trying to establish grounds for contesting it based on emotional cruelty or some other angle. Emotional cruelty? I documented everything. I know. We're in a strong position. But prepare yourself for this to get ugly. Beverly doesn't play nice. He was right. By Friday, I received a formal letter from Beverly Kane's office, painting me as a controlling husband who'd isolated Rebecca from friends, tracked her movements, and weaponized financial information. The letter demanded I rescind the divorce filing and enter mandatory marriage counseling. I forwarded it to David with a single line, "My answer is no." That weekend, I started the process of emotionally rebuilding. I went to the gym for the first time in months. I called my brother in Seattle, explained the situation, and felt the relief of family support. I had dinner with friends who'd noticed the strain in my marriage but had been too polite to comment. "We saw this coming," admitted my friend Raymond over beer and burgers. "The way she talked to you at the Christmas party last year. The constant checking her phone. The way she'd light up when certain messages came through and go cold when you tried to see who was texting. Why didn't anyone say anything? Would you have listened?" His wife Grace touched my hand gently. "You loved her. You wanted to believe the best. That's not a weakness, Nathan. That's what good people do." Monday marked 2 weeks since I'd filed. David called with news. They're offering a settlement. Rebecca keeps her car, her personal possessions, and $30,000. You keep the house, your inherited assets, and your retirement accounts. Clean split, no alimony. She's giving up that easily. I think reality set in. Derek apparently went back to wherever he came from. Told Rebecca he couldn't be part of breaking up a marriage. Some friend, her. I felt a grim satisfaction. What about the timeline? "We can have this finalized in 60 days if you both agree to the terms. No contest, no trial, just paperwork. Do it." That evening, I received one final email from Rebecca. Subject, "I understand now. Nathan, I'm not going to beg anymore. I'm accepting the divorce terms. You deserve to know the truth, even if it's too late to matter." Derek and I did sleep together that night. It wasn't planned, but it happened. It was a mistake, not because I got caught, but because I realized the moment it was over that I destroyed something real for something that only existed in my memories. Derek was the idea of freedom. You were the reality of partnership. I chose wrong. I convinced myself that you were boring, that our life was stagnant, that I deserved more excitement. The truth is, I was bored with myself. I stopped growing, stopped challenging myself, and blamed you for the emptiness I felt. You were working hard to build our future. I was romanticizing my past. You were being an adult. I was playing at being 22 again. I know you won't forgive me. I don't expect you to. I just wanted you to know that this wasn't your fault. You were a good husband. You deserved better than what I gave you. I hope you find someone who appreciates what I was too foolish to value. I'm sorry. For all of it." I read it sitting in my home office, the one that would never be a nursery now, but had become something else, a space to rebuild, to plan, to start over. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. 3 months later. The divorce was final. The house was mine. Rebecca had moved to Portland to be near her sister, accepted a job transfer, started fresh somewhere I'd never have to run into her. I stood in the Riverside Cultural Center, watching as the board, including Patricia, who'd been icily professional, approved my design for the new wing. Leonard clapped me on the shoulder. "Partner meeting next week. We'd like to discuss your future with the firm." That evening, I had dinner with Raymond and Grace's friend Monica joined us. She was an elementary school teacher, funny and warm, with eyes that actually lit up when she laughed. We talked about books and architecture and the absurdity of modern dating apps. "So you're really divorced?" she asked directly. No lingering feelings, no chance of reconciliation. Really divorced. And no chance. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. And what do you want? I thought about that. About the woman who'd thrown away our marriage for a fantasy. About the man I'd been, always accommodating, always trying to make peace. About the man I'd become, standing firm in my worth. I want someone who chooses me every day. Not out of obligation, but because they genuinely want to be chosen back. Someone who understands that marriage isn't about controlling each other, it's about building something together that neither person could build alone. Monica smiled. That sounds reasonable. Grace kicked me under the table, grinning. 3 months ago, Rebecca had given me an ultimatum, certain I'd back down. She'd gambled our entire marriage on my fear of losing her. She'd learned the hard way that ultimatums only work when the other person is actually afraid to lose. I'd been afraid once. Afraid of divorce, of starting over, of being alone. But I'd learned something crucial. Sometimes the scariest thing you can do is also the rightest thing. Sometimes walking away is actually the strongest move you can make. Rebecca had wanted to know if I'd divorce her over one night out. The answer was yes. Not because of the night itself, but because of everything that night represented. The disrespect. The contempt. The willingness to sacrifice our future for her past. She'd bet that I wouldn't call her bluff. She'd lost. And I'd won something more valuable than any marriage built on fear. I'd won back my self-respect. As I walked Monica to her car that night, exchanging numbers, making plans for coffee, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: hope. Not for any specific outcome, but for the simple possibility of building something new with someone who wanted to build it too. Rebecca had her freedom. And so did I.
Okay, if this story hits close to home, consider subscribing. Stories like this remind us respect is not optional and boundaries matter. Thank you for watching.